Hey guys, welcome back to the show, and on this episode I'm going to be talking about another movie from the William Grefé collection. William Grefé is of course a filmmaker known for his exploitation films. I covered another one of his movies a while back, The Sting of Death, a movie about a man turning into a jellyfish, and I looked forward to covering more of his movies in the future, and here we are. This video is going to be on Electric Shades of Grey, also known as The Psychedelic Priest, also known as Jesus Freak, also known as not much of a movie. I mean, Sting of Death was a bad movie, but at least things happened. It was entertaining in how ridiculous it was. But this is just a hippie snooze fest. Honestly, it's like, have you ever been to a party and you're sitting around a bunch of people who are stoned and someone starts telling a story? It doesn't make much sense. They just keep talking and rambling on, and eventually they just kind of drift off and stop talking. That's what this movie feels like. So let's get started, shall we? The movie starts at this outdoor concert, and the amazing thing is just how quickly this movie manages to annoy you with its editing and camera work. I understand it's hard to make a bunch of people who are high on drugs and just sitting on the ground look exciting and interesting, but this is just awful. I mean, I guess this is supposed to have kind of an unconventional vibe considering the setting, but I don't feel like I'm tripping out right now. I just feel nauseous. The Wikipedia entry makes note that the cast and crew were largely non-professional, and real-life hippies starred in the film. And it really shows, doesn't it? I mean, look at all this anti-establishment going on. Peace signs, people taking off their boots, combing their hair. Hey, wait, this guy is standing on top of a car. You can't do that. Anyways, now we have John, who sits down and sees a preacher in the crowd. And then we get a tight freeze frame of his squinty face as he thinks to himself, holy crap, that used to be me. Yes, it turns out John is a recovering Catholic. And now we have a flashback to his days as a priest, when suddenly he spots some teenagers smoking a marijuana cigarette, also known as a joint, a doobie. Oh my God, how horrible. It looks like these kids are now on the fast track to a life going nowhere. But it's nothing that a religious lecture can't fix.
I really don't know where to begin because you've broken nearly every rule I can think of.
Yes, every rule he can think of. Like the rule against smoking illegal drugs and sitting on the grass. There's got to be a rule about that somewhere.
Is this a bribe?
Yes, it's a bribe. Someone hands you a mysterious drink and tells you to drink it. Who could say no to that? But here's the funny part. The guy drinks it. Why would you do that? Imagine a group of teenagers comes up to you and just hands you a cup half full of liquid and says, here, drink this. Your reaction is going to be, well, okay. I mean, I guess I trust you kids. There's nothing really suspicious about this at all. But it turns out it wasn't just a random cup of Coca-Cola. They dropped acid into it, and holy crap, now he's tripping balls. I mean, look at him. He can't believe what he's seeing. It's a man walking down the sidewalk. But that can't be real. I mean, how often does that happen? And now he's seeing a bunch of people through a wide-angle lens, but, you know, far away somehow. And look, that guy is still walking. I also love how this movie depicts an acid trip as if it's just some sort of sudden migraine. Like, oh, ah! Like, if you didn't know what was going on in this scene, you might think that this guy just ate some ice cream too fast. Anyways, John takes a stroll into church, and this just goes on and on forever. I don't think I've ever seen a more boring drug trip in a movie. All these lights and flowers and oh my God, I gotta stop being a priest. So John packs up his things and leaves, and now he's on the road, going somewhere. His hair is longer, so I'm going to assume some time has passed. Also, I just want to note, I'm not completely sure, but it looks like they shot some of these outdoor shots through the window of the car using tungsten film, which is to be used indoors with tungsten lights. The problem with that is that the color temperature of that film is balanced much lower than daylight film. So if you use it outside, everything will look very blue. Anyways, John picks up this hitchhiker. Her name is Sunny, and she says she's going to LA. And John says, wow, what a coincidence. I was going there too. And I totally didn't just decide that after you said it. So Sonny tells him that the last guy that picked her up wanted her to sleep in his motel room with him, and she hopes that doesn't happen again. And John's like, well, you don't have to worry about that because I don't even sleep in motel rooms. I just make a little campsite on the side of the road every night and sleep in a sleeping bag. And I even have an extra sleeping bag that you can use, so you can totally trust me. Because, once you're zipped up in that sleeping bag, there's really nothing I can do. Those things are like ironclad. Anyways, after a while of driving and walking and playing in the snow, Sonny starts talking about how one guy who picked her up ended up raping her. Then she remembers that she has some friends at a town nearby and they can totally get stoned there. And they do. Yep, just a bunch of people sitting in a dark room, passing around a joint that nobody seems to want to ash for some reason. So Sonny goes on to tell the story about how when she was 15, she had her first acid trip with a guy in a cemetery. Sounds like a recipe for a good time. Anyways, she was tripping out and the guy disappeared, so she started clawing at the ground and screaming for him and running around, and it was a total bummer, she says.
Oh God, what a bummer.
Yeah, that would really suck. Honestly, everything in this movie so far is just kind of depressing, and it doesn't feel like any of it is going anywhere, but let's remain optimistic. I mean, maybe the movie will take a turn. Maybe this story will go somewhere. But nope, that's just the end of the scene. Anyways, the next day they're driving along and suddenly see this woman lying there and realize she's in labor. This is one of those things that they don't teach you in driving school, and that's something that needs to change. I mean, sure, roadside childbirth isn't that common, but what do you do if you're driving along and you encounter it? Do you put on the hazards? Do you set down flares? I need the answers to these questions. Also, what's the, etiquette in a situation like this? Because I just got a new car a few years ago, and I got like nice leather interior, nice seats, and I just feel like if I was in this situation and someone's giving birth in the back seat, like, someone's gonna have to pay for an interior detail cleaning after that, and I don't think it should be me. So when's the right time to broach that subject, Before or after cutting the umbilical cord? I'm thinking after, but you can't let it go on too long. Otherwise, they're going to be like, whoa, wait, we didn't agree to this. So John is like, oh crap, there's no hospital nearby. What are we going to do? And Sonny says that there's a doctor who lives out of his van just a few miles from there. Sonny is starting to sound like the Siri For Vegabonds, You can get high at this town nearby. There's a roadside doctor a few miles down the road on your right. The real question is if Sonny can direct me to the nearest rest stop where a murder hasn't been committed. Anyways, they get to the doctor van and there's these two guys getting high. They jump out right away and call this guy over. And this guy is actually the doctor. I don't know what he's doing all the way over there. Smoking weed, maybe huffing nitrous oxide, who knows? It doesn't matter because it's action time. Duty calls. I mean, I guess beggars can't be choosers. She said that there was a doctor nearby. She never said that it was a good doctor or a sober doctor. So they get her into the van and set her down on the mattress. Something tells me lying down on the dirt outside would actually be more sanitary than this, but whatever. Eventually, the doctor delivers the baby, everybody's happy, and suddenly he starts laughing like a Saturday morning cartoon villain. Anyways, they take a walk, and the doctor is like, yeah, I'm really interested in cancer research, so I guess I should go back to the city and, start doing that. Because believe it or not, there's only so much cancer research that you can do living in a van in the middle of nowhere. You can take it to a certain point, but then after that, it just kind of plateaus, Suddenly, the three of them are just driving, and John says he wants to eat something. The doctor says that it's probably best if they just bring the food out to him in the car, since this part of the country is pretty racist. But Sonny and John are like, no. We are walking into that restaurant. All three of us. I don't care what anybody says. We're going into that restaurant and we are eating. I don't care if it's a Denny's or what. So they get to the restaurant, and right away these cops are like, hey, wait a minute, hippies and a black man? Well, we can't have that. So they throw the doctor to the ground and then force him into the car and drive away. For some reason, it takes a really long time for John and Sonny to catch up to them, and by the time they do, the doctor is dead on the ground. Sonny is sitting on these rocks feeling really bad about what happened to Ed, the doctor, and John is like, well, they told us he tried to escape. Geez, John, do you think it's possible that they lied? I don't know, something about the fact that they were laughing when they told you what happened makes me think that they weren't being completely honest.
What did you do to him?
Well, he tried to escape. He jumped out of the car. He ran across the street and the car hit him.
So John starts rambling on about how Ed is dead, but he's not really dead because, his spirit is alive and that type of shit. And this goes on for a really long time. You'd think that it would be uplifting, but it somehow manages to just add to the depressing events of this movie. But maybe this is a turning point, because we're 45 minutes into this movie, more than halfway through. So things have got to start getting better at some point. It can't just be one depressing event after another with no real story to tell, right? So later that night, over the campfire, Sonny starts opening up to John, but it doesn't go so well.
I want to take your hand because I love you.
Hey, all right. I got the stuff. Marshmallows, graham crackers. You guys brought the chocolate. Where's the chocolate? That was the deal. I bring this stuff, you guys bring the chocolate. I'm not seeing any chocolate. So, what, do you have some way to make s'mores without chocolate that I'm unaware of? Or did you just forget? Yeah, see, this is what happens. You do drugs and you forget things. If you're gonna do drugs, make a list. I make lists, and guess what happens? Everybody makes fun of me. Oh, look at him with his list, it's so establishment. I don't care. It helps me be a good friend. So what? I'm just going to be eating graham crackers and marshmallows all night by myself. That's nice. Anyways, John just completely snaps at her, and this comes out of nowhere, especially seeing that he was trying to be so open and caring when it came to Sonny dealing with Ed's death.
What do you know about love? What do you know about me? Who do you think you are anyway? We had a perfect thing going, and now you have to spoil it with this.
Yeah, we had a perfect thing going on. I picked you up off the side of the road, we helped some random lady give birth inside of a van, and then watched as the man who delivered that baby got taken away by police and mysteriously ended up dead. Things have been going great so far. And now we're here in our nice little camping spot. I was going to suggest that we could roast hot dogs, but you just had to go ahead and start talking about love. Now I'm just so sick to my stomach, I think I could only eat 1 or 2, maybe 3, but definitely not 4. So, thanks a lot. Okay, so then there's kind of a weird cut here, where for a split second you have the campfire over top of the next shot of them in the sleeping bags, which in itself is a pretty funny cut. You go from,
There's just no place in my life for this kind of relationship. No place at all.
to,
Sonny, you sleep?
imagine how awkward it would have been rolling out the sleeping bags after that whole thing. So Sonny is like, no, I'm still awake. It's kind of hard to sleep with this giant light in my eyes. Anyways, John tries to apologize and tells her the truth, that he's actually a priest.
You mean you're a priest right now?
I mean, I don't have to be a priest right now, which is why I asked. You up? So after Sonny goes to sleep out of focus, she wakes up and, oh my God, Sonny, what are you doing? That is so risky. Look at what happened the last time you kissed him. You're lucky he doesn't jump out of that sleeping bag and throw you into the river. Sonny decides that the best option for her is to run away. And John wakes up like, wait, what the hell? Where's the girl that I basically told to go to hell when she told me that she loved me? She couldn't have left. I mean, why would she do that? So he goes to the river and gets himself a drink. And here's the thing. I've been doing this for over a decade now, for the most part, I'm a pretty private person, but every once in a while, I like to throw in a little piece of me, just so that the audience gets to know just who I am, and I get to know who my audience is. So here's my question for all of you. When you're brushing your teeth and you go to rinse, do you use a cup full of water, or do you just hand cup the water from the faucet and do it that way? Let me know in the comments section. I'll tell you right now, I am hand cup gang all the way. And that's a hill I'm willing to die on. It's just faster. Anyways, John can't find Sunny, and he's like, oh crap, I gotta go grab everything and get in the car and find the girl who loves me that I basically told to f off. So after a while of driving around, John sells his car and hires a private investigator to track down Sunny. And this goes on for a really long time. Looking around town, asking people at concerts who don't look too thrilled about it, calling the investigator, and then finally, after 5 minutes of this, the investigator says she was in a car accident and is in the hospital. John goes there and stares at it for a really long time. Yep, it's a hospital, John. Don't know why we have to see this shot twice. It's kind of funny because it almost looks like he's confused by this. Like he was given the address, he gets there and he's like, well, wait a minute, this is the right address, but this building doesn't say hospital, it just says emergency. So John goes inside, and the nurse is like, oh yeah, sorry, that girl died. And that's it! After all of that, just, yep, she's dead. Now John is having visions of her dying, so he starts buying alcohol and drinking with some random guy. He goes to a bar where some guy starts a fight with him because he doesn't like his hair. And anybody who's watching this right now, who was, alive at that time in their 20s, just tell me, did you ever witness this? Like, did you ever see anything like this at a bar where someone who was older just hated hippies so much because of how they dressed and their hair that they just started fighting them? Honestly, I'm not denying that it happened. I think it probably did. I just want to know the story. So things are pretty bad. John is in a downward spiral, just going around drinking with random dudes until he stumbles upon some hippies sitting in the tall grass, and they're like, hey, we can give you something, try some of these. And they just dump a small mountain of pills into his hand. Like, what is this? An all-you-can-eat pharmaceutical buffet? Is this how things were back then? And the hippie's like, yeah, you got some uppers, some downers, all sorts of stuff in there. Who knows? It's an assorted variety. Like a potpourri. But it's not enough, and soon John finds himself buying from a drug dealer who gives him a big bag of stuff. It includes everything you need to start shooting heroin. It's basically like a starter pack for smack. Anyways, some guys from a local church find him lying near some train tracks.
Wow, looks like we found us a junkie. Looks like this guy's been shooting age. We'd better get him down to the church. Yeah, the church, that's the only place for him.
Yes, looks like this guy's been doing some intravenous drugs, pretty serious stuff. He could be ODing as we speak. To the church! That's really the only place that could help him. I can't think of anywhere else we should take him. Yep, nothing can cure an opioid addiction faster than some clapping and singing along with Christian music. Suddenly, we're back at the concert from the beginning. I don't really understand why. And then it fades to, I guess, the present day, where these people are doing drugs, and oh my God, there he is. He's a priest again. Father John, a drug user's worst enemy. And that's the end of this movie. So that felt pretty pointless. And in many ways, it feels like one of those anti-drug propaganda films. Not to the same extent as, say, Reefer Madness, but still, it's ridiculous. So this guy was a priest. He did LSD by accident, and that instantly turned him onto a path filled with drugs, death, and misery. Like, there's not much of a story here. It just feels like one depressing thing after another. And a lot of this stuff just feels arbitrary. Now, one thing to note is that this movie was made in 1971, but it wasn't released until 2001. I don't know why that is. William Grefé wasn't credited as the director. He was only credited as the director of photography, but he did direct this movie. Ultimately, it's boring, depressing, and it feels like it's trying to be a super low-rent version of Easy Rider, but ends up just being a waste of time. But that's pretty much it for this one. As usual, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all next time.
And I just trusted him so much. Oh, God, what a bummer.
Yeah, that's a total bummer. That reminds me of this one time I got so high, I lit the wrong end of my cigarette and I had to throw it out. What? Yeah, I know it's not as bad as her story, but come on, I only had 2 left. And also, when did this get so serious? What is this, the Depression Olympics? I thought this was supposed to be fun. Hey, you know what else is a bummer? When you go camping with your friends and they forget the chocolate for the s'mores. So now you just got 2 graham crackers with a marshmallow inside, and it's not the same thing. It's very dry. Well, what I'm just going to be eating marshmallows and graham crackers all night. That's nice. Yeah. That's going to be like, what, 1 million calories? All right, I know I'm crazy for asking this, but I might as well try. Did either of you remember to bring any conditioner at all? Did you remember that at least? Because I am all knots here. I'm all knotted up, and it's starting to get to me. You know, like this whole life on the road thing was so cool for like the first week, and now it's just disgusting. Why am I doing this? I'm really starting to reevaluate my life choices. Like the establishment is looking pretty good right now. I'm gonna be honest. Do you know how to make s'mores without chocolate? Because I don't. I'm wearing an Apple Watch in 1971. That might not help with the skit.